why don't we bring this gentleman up right now? Bring in the host of the NFL Matchup Show, ESPN senior correspondent, and of course an NFL game analyst who will be in South Philadelphia Sunday. Sal Paolantonio, how you doing?
Pat, week 7, Pat. Here we go. Let's do it. Let's get right to it. A lot of stuff going on in the NFL right now. A lot of groundbreaking stuff, Pat.
All right. Well, look, Sal, if you don't mind, I want to do. Let's look back just a little bit relative to. And I'm only doing this, Sal, because you and I were very effusive in our praise of Jaylen Herz last week. I haven't changed my thoughts, and knowing you, I don't think you have either. But just give a quick take on where that subpar game came from, and do you think it's just a one-off for Jaylen Herz?
I think it was the confluence of factors that were literally a perfect storm. You had a defense that not given up one second-half touchdown all year long. They have very active linebackers, a good pass rush with 4 down linemen in their secondary. Even though it was depleted, they play in a scheme, and they do a good job, and the Eagles receivers just weren't getting open in certain circumstances. But the number one thing, when you look at Jaylen Herz, that has to be fixed, and I'm sure the coaching staff was working on that with him this week, is his snap to release is the second slowest in the NFL.
Okay.
Russell Wilson is the slowest. Okay. Notoriously sacked quarterback, Russell Wilson.
Right.
Jaylen Herz is the second slowest. Tua is the fastest snap to release.
Yep. How about that?
So Jaylen Herz is holding on to the ball too long. Yep. So you look at, he's got 7 interceptions. That's 1 more than he had last year. And then according to Next Gen Stats and our film study, 5 of the 7 have come when he has not been under duress, Pat.
All right.
Not under duress. So he's holding the ball too long, not seeing what's open underneath, and throwing it into coverages. And that's got to be fixed.
Yep. That's great information, Sal. I really do appreciate that. I want to bring up this screen right now, Xander, if you could do it. Because, Sal, you hear a lot of talk about he doesn't look the same as he did last year. Now, you look at these stats in which I'm comparing the first 6 games of 2023 to the first 6 games of last year. And in my opinion, Sal, they're almost identical, except for one notable thing that you just brought up. The stats are very close. 7 picks this year versus 2 last year. That is the difference in where Jaylen Herz has been. And it's exactly what you just said, I guess, because, and also you notice he's been sacked 14 times. Tua, the example you brought up, only sacked 6 times. And I guess you're right. That's probably why, right? Because Herz is holding on to that ball that extra couple of beats.
Now keep that graphic up. I want to show you one other major difference. The number of attempts, pass attempts, 186 in 2022.
Right.
2023, 213.
Okay.
So that's a significant difference. That's a difference of 5 per game, 6 per game, right? So if you put the ball in his hands more now, you're going to get more mistakes. So they are throwing the ball way more, Pat, on first down than they did last year.
Yeah.
It's way, way up on first down. So the significance of pass attempts overall is major, but on first down, it's really major. Yeah. So when you're making mistakes and you're throwing it on first down, you're getting behind the sticks and you're looking for the big play to get yourself out of trouble. Right. It has a domino effect, Pat. And then you start to throw interceptions. Remember, 5 of his 7 interceptions have come when he's not under duress.
All right. And that does speak to it. And it's further puzzling, Sal, when you think about it. The Eagles have such a terrific run game. Why all of a sudden now are you accenting the pass more, particularly on first down?
Yep, 22 carries against the Jets. I realize you're not with Cam Jurgens, but, his replacement, Opeta, has been pretty good. Not great, but good. And then Lane Johnson goes down in the first quarter. They were really never trailing in the game.
Right.
That was a game where they needed to run, and Hertz needed to run more than he did. And, I think they will adjust. Am I concerned? No, because I think this coaching staff and this quarterback, both the quarterback and the coaching staff, are very good at adjusting, admitting their mistakes, being self-critical, self-scouting, and I think they will correct it. I don't know why you bring in Julio Jones. I don't know how that really affects things. He, he's a big body.
Yeah.
He's a reliable guy with hands.
Yeah.
Is he an upgrade over Quez Watkins at the age that he is? 34 years old? I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, I wasn't. I'm kind of agnostic about that pick too. We'll see. I'd rather they got us, just get a burner who can run the ball down the field and drag a safety.
Yeah, you can't find those, Pat. I would rather them find. I wanted them to sign Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
They need a back more than they need a wide receiver, in my view.
Yeah. All right, listen. We get back with Sal Paolantonio. We're going to take a deeper dive. I'm going to get Sal's take on who the Miami Dolphins really are. We're going to look at some coaching hot seats, and I'm going to hit up Sal for some pretenders or contenders. We're going to do that all right now or next on This Week in Pro Football. That's not an easy place to play, South Philadelphia. All right, we're going to bring Sal Powell back in here. Sal, thanks for rejoining us. I was just telling our viewers about you pointed out Miami 5-24 overall record against the 5 teams they have beaten. The other thing I want you to comment on is Miami's rush defense is only 20th in the league at 115 yards per game. Give me your thoughts on that and whether that obviously should be the Eagles' focus on Sunday night.
Yeah, it screams running the football, Pat. They only had 22 carries against the Jets. They're not very successful now with their RPO game. That may be a function of the fact that Jaylen Herz is the most blitz quarterback in the National Football League. Teams are blitzing him on rundowns and on passing downs. He's blitzed 40% of the time. Yeah. They are focusing on Jaylen Herz as a ball carrier. Yeah. And so it's up to Jaylen Herz to use the decoy of the run-pass option or the zone read to make sure that he gets the ball out of his hands quickly to DeAndre Swift. This is something that's timing, that has nothing to do with Brian Johnson. It has everything to do. You have a new running back, DeAndre Swift. When you change running backs, like they did, it's going to take time to develop that kind of chemistry, but you have to stay with it, obviously. And they know that. They know that going into this game, it'll be about running the football and trying to get ahead of Miami and keep that Miami, it's a track meet. Miami makes you defend every blade of grass.
Right.
That's what they do. They have 7 touchdowns scored from the line of scrimmage of 40-plus yards. 7. That's tied for second most of any team going into Week 7, Pat, since the 1970 merger. That's a long time, Pat. Yeah. By my count, that's 53 years of football.
A lot of football.
So they are doing something really right. So the Eagles preach each week. Sean Desai, whoever it was, Vic Fangio was the consultant last year, and now the defensive coordinator of Miami. Jim Johnson when he was here. Jonathan Gannon when he was here under Sirianni. Jim Schwartz. The Eagles have been preaching for a generation. Don't give up the big play.
Right.
Break down the protection, but protect the house on the back end.
Right.
The Eagles are not going to play press man coverage on Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They'll get obliterated. They'll be in a track meet they can't win.
Right.
You have to play zone defense. Right. You have to have safety help over the top. And you have to hope that the rush gets to Tua. The rush can get to Tua. I'm very interested to see if Jalen Carter can play and to what extent he will play in this game, how many snaps, how effective he will be, because Tua has always been susceptible in his career to a pass rush in his face.
Okay. And I was just going to mention that to you is the onus on the Eagle defense to be, is it the pass rush to get to Tua, who has some gaudy stats, Sal. In addition to only being sacked 6 times, 71% completion percentage, 9.5 yards per attempt. He's way ahead of the rest of the league on that. 14 touchdowns, tied for the league lead. Is the onus to get to him via the pass rush as opposed to Max? You mentioned zone coverage, maybe even doubling Tyreek Hill in the secondary.
No, I think it's you have to make sure you're not giving up the big play and hope that the pass rush gets home in time. Pat, I like those stats, but the game is about matchups. You played Carolina, the Giants, the Broncos, the Patriots. Pat, these are all the dysfunctional bottom feeders right now in the NFL.
Right.
I can't stress that enough.
No, I'm with you. And it's like you mentioned, Sal. Now they're coming to South Philadelphia on a Sunday night, and a big step up in class where they've only done it once so far this season against Buffalo and lost.
Yeah, they got boat raced by the Buffalo Bills. So listen, and they're getting frosty down there in Miami about this. If you listen or watch or read Mike McDaniel, his press conferences, he has not liked the line of questioning that has gone on. I mean, he's gotten very testy about it. Hey, we're a good team. We're doing things that nobody else has done. Yeah, but if you're doing it against the Pats and the Panthers and the Giants and the Broncos, I mean, literally all those teams are going to have a top 10 pick in the draft, Pat.
Right. It's absolutely fair. Absolutely fair.
It's a fair point. It's a very fair point.
All right, listen, Sal Pal, let's get around the league here. I got about 4 minutes left with you. Some quick hits here.
Pat, if you want me to stay, we lost the internet. I can stay after the next break if you want me to.
No, I appreciate that very much. Well, I'll squeeze a couple more minutes out of you then. All right, I appreciate that very much. Thanks. How about pretenders?
I don't want to take any of Gary Myers or Sean Green, but both of them are my friends, and I love. But I don't want to shortchange you.
I do. Thank you very much. You never shortchange me at all. How about some pretenders and contenders here, Sal Pal? Let me hit you with 3 team names, and you tell me thumbs up or thumbs down on them right now. The Detroit Lions sit at 5-1 and are still, Sal, are one of the most anonymous teams in the NFL. They're never on national TV. The only time was opening night. They actually beat Kansas City. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Are you a believer in the Detroit Lions at this point?
I'm a total believer in the Detroit Lions. I watched them on film, and they do everything right. They attack the quarterback, and they protect their quarterback. The number one statistic in the NFL right now is pass block win rate. It's down. It's down to the point where it's the lowest it's been since they started doing that metric in 2016. That's why right now NFL teams, and this is the reason why the under is paying off big, and I'm sure Sean Green's going to go into this.
I'm going to say that. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
Yep. The teams are scoring 21.7 points per game per team in 2023 going into week 7. Right. That's the lowest in a season in 15 years. That's not nothing.
There you go.
And the reason is pass protection. And pass protection directly leads to QBR for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
QBR for quarterbacks is at a 20-year low, Pat. 20-year.
It's funny, Sal, you mentioned that because the knee-jerk reaction, and I'm guilty of it, is you start looking at the quarterbacks and you look at guys like Kenny Pickett and you look at the kid in Atlanta and elsewhere around the league, these younger guys that appear to be failing. Well, now you introduce a whole other metric there, but maybe it's not all on that.
No, it's an important, I think it's the number one, it's a passing league, right? We established that. So if you look at it logically, if it's a passing league, the number one thing you have to do is protect your quarterback. Yeah. He's no good to anybody if he's under duress.
Right.
So pass block win rate right now, write this number down, is 55%. That means the defense is winning almost close to half the time.
That's right.
That pass block win rate right now is the lowest since they started keeping the metric in 2016.
All right. And then to your point, to the question that I asked you, there is no better example of a quarterback who benefits from a win on that metric than Jared Goff. Goff is a classic drop back quarterback.
Yes.
He's going to do you almost no good at all when he wanders out of the pocket. So,
and Detroit is 4th in pass block win rate right now.
All right, so I mentioned at the top of the show the Dallas Cowboys patting themselves on the back, a 20-17 win against an LA Charger team that cannot win a close game. and will find a way to lose it no matter what the circumstances are. Are you thumbs up or down on where the Dallas Cowboys right now are going into their bye?
Dallas needed a course correction, and they got it. Everybody's all over Mike McCarthy because he played it ultra conservative in that game. But Mike McCarthy probably woke up after that loss to San Francisco and said, I'm not going to let Dak Prescott get me fired.
Okay. Fair enough.
And I'm going to take control of what's going on the field.
Yeah.
And he won a one-score game on the road after getting demolished by San Francisco on the road.
Right.
So what I see from Dallas is a head coach who has said enough is enough, and I'm taking control of this offense, and that's a good thing for the Cowboys.
All right. Well said. But one comment on Dallas quickly is that, boy, they can't run the ball. And you know, it's funny. It speaks to, it's really just the other side of the coin you just mentioned on pass blocking. Is that there's only, I can point to 3 teams that run the ball really well: San Francisco, Philadelphia, Miami. And what do they all have in common? They're 15-3, right? So the rest of the teams run the ball.
Pat, and we spent the whole summer in this league devaluing the position of the running back.
Yeah.
And the teams that run the ball the best are the Eagles, the Niners, and Miami, 15-3. Yeah. Am I missing something here? Am I getting something lost in the translation, Pat?
I don't think so. All right.
I mean, are we just so old school, me and you, Pat?
I'm guilty of that. I don't know. I'm guilty. Maybe you're not. I'll say I am. But the last team, Sal, I want to ask you about is an old school team, or they play like it. Certainly they're coached like it. And that's the Baltimore Ravens. Another team, Sal, that every year Baltimore is there. They're in the mix. They give you a tough game, but they never seem to me, Sal, to have enough skill position talent to get over the hump. Baltimore's sitting at 4-2 right now. As usual, they're in the thick of the AFC North race. Give me your thoughts on the Ravens. Are they a contender?
They're a contender for the division title. Right now, I don't see them as a contender for the Super Bowl. For the exact reason that you mentioned, they don't have enough playmakers on offense. They have a top 5 scoring defense. So does Cleveland. But they have a top 5 scoring defense. But in the end, 2 things: not enough playmakers, and Lamar Jackson gives the ball up in the fourth quarter in the red zone more than any other quarterback in the NFL.
Bang, bang. Yep.
Bang, bang. That's it.
That's it. That about says it right there. You are right. On Lamar Jackson, we were talking about that last week. That should be a good game this week, Sal, right? Detroit at Baltimore. One of those teams is going to come out of there in really good shape. That's a competitive game on Sunday, right?
Very competitive. Very competitive. You know, the league is a one-score league, Pat. Scoring is down. And so it's up to these coaches now to find, you go into New York, you're playing the Jets. I get it. The Jets have been a problem all year. They're starting to rise. You've got to find a way to win these one-score games.
That's funny.
Sirianni did not. Mike McCarthy did.
Yeah.
The Browns did.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to find a way to win these one-score games. It's not nobody's really winning unless you're Miami playing the Patriots. Nobody's really winning 44-6.
Yes.
It's a very rare that they are. And
no,
the last two Super Bowls were won by 3 points, Pat. It is a one-score league, and it's up to the coaches to take control in the fourth quarter so you don't give games away.
Excellent point. Excellent point. And I think, Sal, that's the way it's going to be the rest of the year for those myriad of reasons you just said, talking about offensive line play, and I was talking about shaky quarterback play. I think you're going to see that. The lower the scoring in the league, right, Sal, the closer the games are going to be, almost by definition.
And you got to follow the money, right?
Yeah.
NFL teams are investing in quarterbacks, pass rushers, wide receivers, and corners.
Right.
They're not really investing or developing offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Very few teams are. The Eagles are the exception, obviously. But you look at the Eagles, they have 2 guys on the downside of their career, Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey.
Right.
So the other thing, well, we can have a whole dissertation on why offensive line play is down in the NFL. I think the number one reason is you're not hitting enough in practice or training camp. That's just me. Again, old school bubbles to the surface. What do you want from me,
pal? Well, you gave me plenty tonight, Sal. I really appreciate it. It was excellent discussion, and thank you very much for that. I look forward to you Saturday and Sunday, the matchup show. You mentioned that the concentration on the show this week is Miami at Philadelphia. Any hints or give me a preview of the show this week?
Well, we have Greg Cosell and Darius Butler Butler, of course, played 9 seasons as a defensive back in the league, so he will look at what the Eagles. Now, here's something for you, Pat. The Eagles have started 14 different players in their secondary this year. 14 due to injuries.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tied with the Bears and the Titans, believe it or not. And the Bears are 1-5, and the Titans are 2-4. The Eagles are 5-1. How they have survived this is a testament to their resilience, the culture in that locker room. Sean Desai, their new defensive coordinator, but eventually it's got to catch up with them, and it may catch up with them a little bit on Sunday because, they got a track meet with Miami.
That's right. Well, if you think about it, on an average, you might have 5 D-backs on the field at any one time. The Eagles have almost tripled that. In other words, they've almost used 3 different rosters of defensive backs. You're right.
And we're going into week 7.
Yeah. No, it's not like we're in week 17.
No.
Week 7. Yeah.
They may double that number by the end of the year.
How about that? All right. Well, listen, Sal Pao, we look forward to the matchup show. We look forward to your reports on Sunday as part of ESPN's game day coverage. Thank you very much for joining me today, Sal. We'll talk to you real soon.
You got it, Pat.
All right. Great Sal Paolantonio joining me right there. Sean Green, I see, has already logged on and is ready to hurl his usual bunch of epithets and profanity, which we will, of course, edit out. But look forward to talking with Sean about why all the unders. We'll get his take on that next on This Week in Pro Football.